Hey folks, today I'm going to talk about the food squeeze again, and also how increasing marketing costs are going to potentially hurt Bitcoin. So if you're not aware of the food supply squeeze, watch the previous video. Long story short, oil prices rising, fertilizer prices are rising, food supply is dwindling, the cost to move food around is going up, the amount of ships that can move food around is decreasing, and there's more traffic, and therefore Africa is going to starve to death over the next 6 to 18 months, pretty much, and all of our grocery costs are going to go up. That's it in a nutshell. But another thing which I forgot to mention in that video are calorific storages, so i.e. food supplies. So most of the developed world is on a 90-day calorific storage. So if you, like, the UK has 4 to 5 months of food supplies, the US about the same, maybe a bit more. But Africa are screwed. Most of Africa have less than 2 weeks worth of calorific storages, and some even less. So if you take some of the poorer nations in Africa, Nigeria, Somalia, Eritrea, DRC, etc., they have 0 calorific storages. They're the countries that are going to get absolutely clobbered. But then you have an outlier, China. China has 1.5 years worth of calorific storages, which is just insane. They have been like amassing food supplies for a year or two now. It's as though they knew this was going to happen, and so, you know, it's not really conspiratorial thinking, but I wouldn't be surprised if China started using food as a leverage against Africa over the next 6 to 18 months. So you have a load of these nations, like, you know, really suck for food, and so China will be like, yeah, I'll give you some food in exchange for that port or that commodities exchange or whatever. So they're going to really leverage that food weapon, which is a shame. So yeah, it's for us as individuals, I really would like, especially if you're in, let's say, the restaurant trade, I would stock up on oil. So most of the vegetable sunflower and olive oil comes from Ukraine and Russia. So if you're like a business, it's worth stocking up on basically all the stuff that is traditionally from Ukraine and Russia. And also getting stuff out of Asia is going to be a bit tricky. So it may not. Hey, I mean, I'm just looking forward that, you know, the UK went absolutely nuts when, you know, lockdowns happened and toilet roll disappeared, and then we had like one little news line that, you know, diesel's short, and then we had like massive diesel like queues. God knows what the public are going to be like, you know, moving forwards. It's going to be quite horrendous. So maybe it's like this you can't get around it really. You either do nothing and mock the people that, you know, store up, or we have nothing. So I don't know. But let's get back on track. The marketing. Yes. So not a couple of years ago, Apple dropped its bombshell, which is iOS 14, 15. It's the one which blocked Facebook from tracking Apple users' activity and stuff like that. So if you're a Facebook marketer, and you're doing Facebook ads, and it was really hard to track conversions from Apple users. And so what this means, and what it has meant, is that CPA, so cost per acquisition, has ballooned up for all Facebook marketers, no matter how big or small you are. But it's not just that. This trend is happening across the board now, and Google are thinking of doing something similar for Android, and this will be the final nail in the coffin for SMEs. So a lot of small to medium enterprises cannot really recover with these raging CPA increases, whereas some of the bigger ones can. And so we're going to see a lot of SMEs just go bust. And also, I think if you're a business owner, you're going to have to sort of pivot models somewhat. So for many years, probably for the best part of 10 years, I've always said it's really handy having a low price, high margin, high volume business. So if you have like a subscription service that's $10 a month, you know, you just get 1,000 subscribers and then you're hunky-dory. But the thing is, it's really freaking hard to get low price subscription based customers these days. So for example, I've got a small, very small, one of the businesses I have is called thewap.org. And no, I set that years before that stupid song came out. So thewap.org, and it's like a how to set up a business type stuff. But that's like a £30 a month thing. And the CPA, the cost per acquisition, to get a new Wapper, is close to 100 quid. So it's costing £100 or more to get a Wapper that pays £30 per month. And that's not too bad. I've seen businesses with way worse CPA. Now, what's going to happen is that the small, like if you look at the Russell stocks, they're going to get hit harder. And so this is not going to help for the stock market, especially as now Netflix has just dropped a bollock. They've lost $600 million in the last quarter, and they're having users unsubscribed. And you know, there's so many things pointing or coalescing into or converging into one point, you know, one focal point of, you know, cluster fuckery, where everything, I think we're in for a big stock market crash. So I don't think Netflix is going to be on its own. I think there's going to be other big stocks falling. So yeah, it also doesn't help that Netflix is so freaking woke. Oh, I hate this bloody woke trend. Too many snowflakes in this world, crying about whatever's in the news. But hey ho, Pips. Sorry, good girl. So the reason how this all affects Bitcoin, you're probably like, get to the point, is that if you have a whole bunch of SMEs, and by the way, SMEs are the bedrock and the backbone of any nation. If you have all of these going bust or starting to wind down, it's not good for GDP. And combine that with loads of other big businesses going bust, there is a constant growing negative pressure, or a negative buoyance, if that makes sense, for asset prices to go down. And when stocks finally have their big old break to the downside, it's not going to be pretty for Bitcoin. Ultimately, I do think Bitcoin will disconnect from stocks because there is a very high correlation between stocks and Bitcoin. But for the moment, yeah, I think you just watch the S&P 500 do like a -5 or -10% move in a day, and watch Bitcoin follow suit, and therefore every other crypto. So that's the thing. I'm still sat 75% stable coins, 25% in a trading account. And I really don't want to deploy anything, because until we sort of Kobo off the 55k level, there's really not much point. We're in a symmetrical compression on Bitcoin on the higher time frame, and we have no idea what's going to happen. So until then, I'm just going to keep on trading, and I'll see you soon. Hope this helps. Probably hasn't. Probably more verbal farting, but who cares? Bye.